So I have purchased the Outland fire table about a week or two ago, installed it. Didn't have my natural gas run yet, so I just hooked it up to the propane to play with it and test it. And I'm going to convert it now to natural gas. I'll show you how that conversion works. Also just going to show you the table and kind of what my experience has been with it. So far, I really enjoy the look of the table. And one issue I have run with the table a little bit is igniting it. It's got a really nice system. You can see I have a lighter sitting next to it, but there's a sparker here. There's an igniter, of course, under these rocks here. Initially I found that if I had the rocks kind of covering it too much, the igniter didn't work very well. So this is with propane. I'll give you a sense of what that looks like, and then we'll show it again here with the natural gas after the conversion is done. These igniter systems on this table is just wonderful. You push in on it, you turn it, you can start to hear it make a hissing noise. I don't know if you can hear that on the video, but then you turn it just a tad more, hear the click, see how quickly that pops up. Really nice and easy. Now, I did find that initially I'm going to catch that box on fire. Initially I had the rocks kind of covering this igniter in here too much, and it would take 5-10 tries with that knob to get the fire to start. So we'll see what that's like in a little bit. Here is the conversion kit. I have already opened the box. You can see it has the hose in it, has the new valve, it has a placard to indicate it's been converted. I have taken off the two side panels, which are sitting here. Already pulled the canister out. So I'm going to shut the valve in the canister. I'm going to pull out the igniter wire, switch the valve, and I'll show you what that looks like. So Outland is pretty careful when they connect your hose. So this is the hose that used to go to the propane tank. I've removed it. Now where the hose connects to the control valve here, they've actually covered the fitting with the shrink wrap. So I'm going to remove the shrink wrap with my pocket knife, disconnect the hose, and reconnect the natural gas hose. Now that I've removed the gas line, what was propane line, I'm going to remove the 4 screws here that hold this assembly in so I can take the valve out. So I've removed the 4 screws and put the body, the valve here on the table. I'm going to open up the bag that the new hose and valve came in and switch that out. Here they are next to each other. You can see this will be very simple. We'll remove the knob and a couple screws. So I'll flip this over, remove this knob. You can see there's a couple screws behind it. I'll remove the screws and switch out the valve body. So I've attached the new natural gas body to the valve. Excuse me, the valve body to the bracket. I'm going to stick the bracket back in now. Back in the hole. I'll show you what that looks like. So here's what the bracket looks like now in the hole. There's 4 screws just like before that we're attaching. Make sure when you slide it in the hole that you put the nozzle from the valve inside the tube, and then we'll tighten the 4 screws securely. This is your igniter cable. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's now time to install the gas hose that came with the kit. It's a nice 10-foot long hose or so. I've drilled a hole in the deck. I'm going to run around and stick the end of this up through that hole. I'm up on a high ladder here, but you'll see. Just going to stick it through the hole there. Maybe push a foot or 2 through it. Just so I know it doesn't come down on me. Alright, here's the hose. Here's the end of it. So that's where I'm going to connect it. Take this off. I'm going to slide my heat shrink on over the hose and connect it, and then melt it. Alright, that was really simple. I just slid the heat tape on there, connected this. Even doing it left-handed here, I'm doing it in a matter of just 30 seconds or a minute. Get that nice and snug. I'm going to take the lighter and heat that up. The melt, definitely not melt. I'm just going to heat it up a little bit and have it secure that fitting so it doesn't come loose or leak or anything. apply a little heat to it. See how quickly it starts to melt and kind of get close to the whatever you want to call it, the fitting there. Of course, I've not hooked up the gas line yet. See if I can get on the top a little more directly. Look at that, looks nice. Gonna make sure I got the back side of it a little bit without getting the flame onto the resin material of the, look at that. Beautiful. Alright, we know that's not gonna come apart. Okay, I'm gonna connect the igniter line now. You'll see the old one here, you know, it's your basic, you know, crimp connection, nothing too fancy. You'll see it has a kind of a rectangular shape to it there. It's very important that gets securely pushed onto the fitting on the back of the valve body here. Now, I've still got the old one on the wire that came with the propane one, and of course the natural gas has come with a new one. So I'll take that one off, throw it away. So I still have the one on this one. Now, when you do this, be very careful to push that back all the way. Look at your rectangle. Make sure that you're sliding it on there the same way and that it's secure. See, it's not going to go if I try to turn that. Aha! And I don't know if you saw what I did there, but the first time I tried pushing that on, it was actually between the metal part and the edge. So it kind of slid in there and felt smooth, but I could tell it wasn't kind of a metal on metal connection. So I pulled it out, did it a second time, and actually got it on there correctly. Now I'm gonna push that cover back on there so no water gets in there and corrodes that connection. It's very easy to think you have that connected and you don't. So of course we'll test the igniter before we get too far along here. Alright, so we're back under the deck. This is the end of the line. I need to hook it up to my valve. Pretty straightforward. The kit comes with a quick disconnect, which is easily pops on the end of the line. We pull it back, goes on there pretty easily. So now I need to connect the other end of this disconnect to the valve. I like big pipes. I don't know why, but I installed a half-inch line here. Should have installed a 3/8 line. It would have made this a little simpler. I wouldn't have had to buy this adapter. But I bought a 3/8 to half-inch adapter. So after the valve here, I'll put the adapter in, and then I'll put the quick disconnect. All right, I'm just finishing up now, tightening this. Fortunately, it's right up against my Alright, so sorry for the fumble. I couldn't hold the phone and tighten it at the same time. Actually, a minute or two has passed since that last filming. I got this nice and tight here. I've got my, my gas tape in there. So we now have the quick connect, the coupling and the valve all tightened. I haven't gotten my soapy water yet, but I will in a moment. So now I've connected it. I'm going to push a little bit of extra slack up into the table. So now we have a nice clean connection down here. I've turned the valve off upstairs on the table. I'm going to get some soapy water here in a second and test these connections and turn that valve on. Alright, stole one of my wife's dish sponges, put a little Dawn on it. Now we're going to turn the valve on and test all these connections. So obviously we're just trying, look at that. Is that? Got it nice and sudsy.
second.
For a second there, I thought I saw a little, guess it was just water dripping off. All right. I think we're looking good there, guys. All right. I'm gonna move upstairs and do the same thing. Check the bottom of the table. For those of you that are curious, I'll just show you real quick what I had to do to get that valve, that gas line there. It took me about 3 or 4 hours by the time I went to Lowe's and got these pipes all cut up. So this is the gas supply on the back of my house. You know, so I had a section of it, the meter, you know, the meter's here. I had a section of it between here and here that I wanted to come off of, but there's not a single universal till way in the house. I mean, it goes in above a drop ceiling. It was another 30 feet before I got to the first universal. So I needed to install a universal. So, you know, I just took a hacksaw or sawzall and just cut through this pipe, and then, you know, took the 2 sections out, put some sections of pipe in here with a universal so that I can then put a T in, and the rest of it was pretty straightforward. Ran the T up under the deck, out, put a T on it there, ran it up through, and there's where we just connected it. All right, we're back up on the deck now. Just want to do the same thing with the sponge here. Check this nice and carefully for any bubbles. Don't see any bubbles. All right, time to turn it on and see how it does. I just turned the valve for a moment and realize that the valve operation's a little different. Same concept, that you push in, you turn it, you can start to hear the gas flowing. You can hear the gas flowing. Spark. I don't know if you heard the ignition there, but it lit up. Then you have to release it before you turn it all the way to high. Still works. I just did it 2 or 3 times, worked first time every time. So I think similar to the propane, once you get those rocks oriented in a nice way that the gas is getting around that igniter, you end up with a pretty good experience. Alright everyone, I am going to open the accessory, the 3-piece accessory kit here in a second. I'm excited to see how that works, and I have quite a few reasons why I think that's a good addition to your table. I'll talk about that here in another video in just a moment. You know, I've noticed I've got this on high, and it's interesting with the way the sun is right now, you can hardly see the flames. But, whoa, assure me, that is putting off some massive heat. Anyway, that's my experience converting this. You know, it was actually, I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'd say overall this took me about 20 to 30 minutes to do this conversion, and that's with taking a bunch of stops here to shoot a video along the way. My guess without the video, you're looking at about a 10 or 15 minute project.